you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending this session of the 2022 Lean in Higher Education Conference, which is titled Leave Your Baggage at the Door, Unpacking Travellers Needs. This will run for the next 45 minutes. My name is Anita Ashland and I'll be the moderator of this session. Some quick housekeeping. Please stay on mute during the presentation and you are more than welcome to turn your camera on so that we can see everyone. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. Please note that the presentation is being recorded. Now, please allow me to introduce the presenters of this session. It's our honour today to welcome Grace Bryant and Melissa Hankinson. Now over to you presenters for what is sure to be a wonderful session.
Thank you for building that false sense of security.
We would like to start our session today by acknowledging the Ngunnawal people. So we're based at the University of Canberra. The Ngunnawal people are the traditional custodians of the lands where our campus here is situated. You'll see from the slide here, our campus is in a suburb that is rather oddly named Bruce, after Prime Minister Stanley Bruce. We'd also like to acknowledge and respect the continuing Indigenous culture and the Ngunnawal culture and the contribution that they're making to the life of Canberra and also to the regions that we are serving. We'd also really like to acknowledge all the other First Nations peoples on whose lands we are gathering from across this wonderful world of us today.
And if you're feeling brave enough, you might want to post where you're presenting from, whether it's a First Nations place or a country. But Melissa, what's on the screen?
This is a beautiful picture of Canberra. For those who have not been here, doesn't it look wonderful? Don't you want to come and visit us here?
It's a perfect blend of like bush or scrub or forest, as some other cultures call it, and city. And our campus is just to the left-hand side of the back of that lovely picture. So that gives you a sense of where we are coming to you from today. Before we start, I think we probably should introduce ourselves a little bit. I'm Grace Bryant. I've been with the University of Canberra a long time, 2 decades nearly, in fact. And I always wear University of Canberra branding. I've been in service improvement with Melissa for 6 years, and we both have various representative roles within Lean in higher education. Melissa?
Well, I put you on the spot there. So I'm Melissa Hankinson. I lead service experience and improvement here at the university. I have been here not quite for as long as Grace. I've only been here for 15 years. I also sit on the University Council and on the UCX board. So UCX being our student engagement and student culture organisation. Is that enough?
Yeah.
Oh, and I chair the Lean in Higher Education Asia Pacific Network. So if there's anyone on the call who's from the Asia Pacific Network who isn't yet a member of our network, we would love for you to come and play with us, get in touch, and we'll pop you on our distribution list. And you can come to the wonderful events that we hold every couple of months.
And to be fair, we run our events virtually, so anyone else can come too from anywhere around the world.
So you don't need to travel.
Oh, great segue. Today we're talking about travel, that word that we all miss doing. Specifically, we're going to talk about how we drastically improve the experience of our travellers by putting their needs at the centre of our processes. We digitised a lot of the stuff that we did while improving risk management and our duty of care to travellers. So we've got that amazing intersection that rarely happens between compliance and experience. Wow. And I will say from the get-go, this is not an end-to-end story. Because Melissa and I have been involved with Lean HE for a while and gone to a few of the conferences, or all of them since 2017, one thing that we really value is having practical takeaway tools. So things that we can pick up immediately and put in our tool belts. So what we're going to do today is talk a little bit about what we did, but mostly about some of the tools that we used. And we're going to give you some tools to take away. We're going to ask you if you have any tools that you want to share. We're going to look at co-design at scale. So that's where we're going today. Now, for some of us, Oh, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Kate, for sharing the country that you're on. How cool. That's a good takeaway for everyone to learn for when you go traveling. Next, so when you come and visit us, when we're all getting back into travel, because it's been a while, these are useful things. Travel is a bit of the elephant in the room. So we're going to do a little exercise right now, and we're going to cast our minds back. We're going to use our memories, if we still have them after COVID, or our imaginations, if we still have them after working in universities. Just kidding, that sounded bitter. And I want you to cast your mind back to a time when you travelled and get a bit more focused and a bit more specific. And I want you to think about your best travel experience. Now, we want you to think of this end to end. Booking, what you did while you were traveling, or the fun bits, and your return home. And what made it good. And if you can, here's the challenging part. We want you to break it down into 5 components and represent those in either 5 words or 5 emojis. So you can choose, but we're giving you a limited response here. So what was your best travel experience? What made it good? In 5 components, from booking through to returning home, what made it good? And post in chat in 5 words or 5 emojis. Your time starts now.
Oh, should I put a timer on?
Yeah, let's put these people under pressure.
Yeah. I still don't remember how to work out how to actually use my timer. I was in the session earlier and there was Eric, I think, said he has his Apple Watch that does like thousands of dollars worth of thousands and thousands of dollars in it. So it has all these amazing features, and all he really uses it for is as a timer.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
That's like my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, sorry, I'm going to start the timer.
Timer starts.
What if I just give you 30 seconds because I've faffed around?
Faffed.
Oh,
I've got a little bit of time. Yeah, we're actually on time for now.
Oh. Give me 30 seconds to start.
Who's going to be brave and be the first person to post in chat? Hey, Kevin. No. Oh.
No reservations. Kevin.
Wow. And what a beautiful 5 words.
Yeah. Okay, Michael, automated schedule, face-to-face, snacks and leg room.
Ah, I like that.
Oh, geez, that went really quickly.
So I'm just going to have a look across everyone's beautiful faces. There's some people still daydreaming about their last trip.
Yeah.
So look, we're going to be a bit more lenient on the 5 words. We just don't want an essay. So if you want to include more words, that's okay. If you feel like just using pictures, that's okay too. You're mostly prepaid, pre-booked, structured and flexible.
How good is that? That tension between being structured yet having enough flexibility to go, hey, I just worked out that this museum has this fantastic exhibition on and it closes tomorrow and I have to go now.
Yeah, or I'll book some train rides and some accommodation, but we might just see if we like it here and we want to stay. Oh, damn. There's a map.
There's a map.
There's a
car. There's people. There's castles.
Is that sport?
Or is it wrestling?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
It's cool doing non-verbal communication because we get to choose it. Hey, fun, easy and glitch-free. Hey. Arrive at night, no transportation, language barrier. Ooh.
Ooh.
I'm curious to see.
Where did Karen go?
I don't know. I hope it was warm though.
I bet there was alcohol. Yes.
He'd slept on the flight, delicious food, the airport wasn't busy. Backpack, yum. Yeah. That sounds like low responsibility. On time, every step. On time, on every step. 5. Carolina, amazing.
KLM houses when you're traveling business class with KLM. That's like an aspirational thing.
There's little things that you get on the plane. I think I've seen. Yeah, and I think I've seen them on your Instagram.
Oh, I've got some more emojis coming in.
So someone tram and then a plane,
I think it's
had a good time, had wine, and then went to bed. Aaron, sun, beach, palm trees, relaxing, surfing. Okay, so now that we all have a bad case of the no travel blues, let's break this down. If we look at this in terms of what is valuable for you as people, there are differences. Not everybody has the same values. So some of you wanted structure, some of you wanted flexibility, some of you wanted both. Some of you talked about the kind of bonuses that you get while you're traveling that aren't part of the trip. Or some of you talked about things as enablers for fun or for the purpose of the trip, like being on time, glitch-free. So these enablers that allow you to have a good time. And for the most part, we didn't talk about much booking, apart from being glitch-free. We talked about the things that we wanted to do while we were traveling or what made a good travel experience. And those things weren't like booking, receiving tickets. There were no computers involved or calculators or spreadsheets or approvals or invoices.
Or credit cards.
Or credit cards.
Taxi cab
Policy. So do you want to do something fun now?
Let's flip it around now. So this time round, I want you now to think about your institution's travel booking process. Remember thinking time. Think about your institution's travel booking process. And I want you to think about what's just immediately sprung into your mind. And again, I want you to in the chat, describe for us the experience of that booking process, again, in 5 words or 5 emojis. So like before, 5 words, 5 emojis, but what I'd like you to think about is the experience of using your institution's travel booking process. Oh, I've just seen a skull and crossbones. Sorry if I'm triggering some bad memories.
You are queen of the emojis today. Mystical, unfathomable, hot luck. Oh, the results are coming in very fast. Oh, difficult, hassle, help. Busy face.
Not clear, stressful, a lot of crying, tears, mystery, hidden fees.
EU regulations. Slow, unsure. Oh, Aaron's gone into more detail. It's included a swearing emoji.
I didn't know there was a swearing emoji.
Mystery, hidden fees. Oh, complex, burdensome.
Okay.
Wow. I'm so sorry.
Wow. So you can see the difference there because we feel obviously that we don't have control around the process in our institution. It's unclear, there's things we need to do and we don't know why. And it gets in the way of all those experiences, all those words that we had put around our wonderful travel experience when we first talked about that.
And the enablers to create value or a good experience for us. Completely unpresent. There were no suns. There were no smiling faces in sunglasses or margaritas.
There's nothing about glitch-free. There's nothing about it being easy.
Yeah. So we had a really similar experience to this when we started consulting at scale on travel. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so we had talked about travel for a very long time at the university before we decided to do something about it. And the time we decided to do something about it was right during COVID. Because, hey, that's what everyone was thinking about during COVID, wasn't it? The fact that our travel process was crap. So a lot of the things we've done was similar to what we just did with you. So with you, we've essentially just done a little bit of a rosebud thorn. We've done some consultation with you via stealth, essentially.
Yeah.
To get you to call out what's great, what's not good. Okay. That's a tool that we've used a lot in a lot of different pieces of work. We've also then used a technique there called mashup. where we've got you to think about what was wonderful about something
different or unrelated.
And then you can start to think about how can I apply that to the thing that's really not working. So that's a really nice design thinking technique that we've been using.
Yeah, what can we extract from a good experience, whether it's related or unrelated, and inject it into a new process?
Yeah. So over the years, we had collected so much feedback around travel about what was wrong with the process and what people needed to see. We had all these audits showing that we had compliance issues, but we almost had too much. So we had to work out a way that we could reflect everybody's feedback that they've given us, because what we try to do in our practice is when we ask someone for feedback, we always try to respond to that or reflect it back to them so that they can feel that their voice, that voice of the customer, is reflected in the solutions that we're delivering. So our big question was, how could we do this at scale? How do we try and co-design a solution for our travel process, which, let's be honest, met everything that you guys have put into the chat there. Had 15 different bits of paper forms and ridiculous amounts of approvals, and it wasn't actually written down anywhere.
It was a dark art.
So we managed to actually, to the point where people just refused to do it and just went travelling because it was easier.
Yep.
Easier to do with consequences.
So we had lots of information, and we did really similar exercises to this to start redesigning the travel experience with users at the centre at the heart of the process. We could take the information that you've just given us and start designing a target state using that little bit of information, so the best and worst experiences, to start deriving requirements. And as Melissa said, there's already bunches and bunches of requirements there. So how do you know how to pick through the requirements and understand what's important, or how to prioritise these? How do we know which ones to put at the heart when some users want one experience and other users want a different experience? We're going to share a really simple tool in just a second called Moscow. And some of you will have heard of this. It's not new. We might just show you a different way that you can use it. Moscow, must, should, could, won't. We've all seen this in projects, but you can use it in more user-centred thinking to say, here's what we want, here's what's important to all of our users, and do a user-centric delivery that way, or a user-centric consultation that way. So you might start by collecting the requirements and sorting them and putting them into the one place, and connect your requirements to a user. So we're going to share a template where we've done this. We've just got, do you want to go to the next slide? Yeah. So connecting your requirement and the user that put them forward, and there might be commonalities between these. So this is an example of a user story. So what you get when you connect a requirement with a user is a user story. They're really easy to structure. It's, as a person, I want my desire so that I can achieve the thing I'm trying to achieve. So we've got a few examples here where we can see how we've connected a requirement with a user. It's a really easy way to kind of start prioritising and looking across the commonalities and saying, we must take this requirement. We should take this requirement. We could, this is optional. We've got a bit of room for flex, and we definitely won't take this requirement. So we're starting to be able to feed back to our users, here will be the scope of the solution. Did I want to say anything else about that? No. So we captured these ones listed here during a bunch of workshops, conversations, and through mining responses to previous surveys. So universities have tons of data. You can start generating these and taking them out and validating to see if this is true. So we're going to have a look at a couple of these. We're not going to walk through all of them. There's two that I want to look at closely. So the administrator, which is the one on the top right. As an administrator, I want good reporting. Is this?
No, it's down the bottom.
It's
their reporting.
Which
one are you going to pick?
Oh, I think we've just changed the... No, I've read the wrong bit. As an administrator, I want processes and systems that meet my information, duty of care, and business knowledge management requirements so I can support travellers in my business unit.
That sounds very reasonable.
Yeah, because I'm trying to help people get to where they need to be. Now, as a group, let's consider, in terms of must, should, could, won't, how would we rank this user story? Is this something we must do? Something that we should do? So should we build a system that has good processes, a good information output that covers risk so administrators can help others travel? Let's post in chat. Is that a must, a should, a could, or a won't? There's no wrong answers here. Couple of musts. We'll give it another 5 seconds. I reckon that's pretty good. Yeah, I agree. We want our travellers to feel supported by the people around them who are paid to support them. So for us, we felt that was a must. We're going to have a look at another one. This one is definitely the middle one on the left.
That is the left.
That is, yeah. As a research academic, I want access to budget airlines, so the cheap airlines, and a flexible process so I can make better cost decisions and get value for my money on limited travel funding. How would we rank this as a priority? Is it a must? Yeah, or a should, or a could, or a won't? Yeah, we agree. It's a should or a could. And we'll talk about this in the final product, but in the final product, we ranked this as a should or a could. And I think this really illustrates the different values of the different users and trying to build a system that meets all of those needs. Whose needs do you put first? The thing that we must have or the thing that's nice to have? And it comes down to, even though we're talking about budget airlines, it comes down to a different value. So we're not worried about money, we're worried about our travellers getting good support. So what we can do as a next step, and we're not going to go into this detail, is then once we've developed our full Moscow, break each user requirements down into steps. So we might say the research academic needs to understand, have a place they can go to book their travel and support to book their travel. The next step is they travel, they return and reconcile any costs. And those are the steps they need to take. So we're not going to go into that today because we think that's fairly basic, but that's where you can take the Moscow next.
So what we then did, in addition to looking at some of the steps that would fall out of the user stories that we created. And when we created these, we did these in consultation, obviously, with our quite broad consultation group. And a tip, some of the consultation that we did obviously was during COVID. So we essentially, to pull together a lot of these user stories, was we just had a shared team site with some collaborative documents and got people to actually start putting in their little sentences themselves and then getting others to vote or change or upvote, so we could get a sense of which of these user stories were resonating most with our people, even though we couldn't get everybody into a room all at the same time. So that's a good tip if you've got a lot of remote staff and you're still trying to build these user stories together. So we took the user stories. We then needed to find a way to build something that would help us test our solutions, but in a way that was reflecting back these user stories. So we then went to a tool that many of you may have used before, which was we built some personas. So personas are really useful. We find them very useful in our work. Essentially, by creating a persona, you can create an archetype of a cohort or a group of people who you need to be creating value for in the solution that you're delivering. So it then also helps you to create a product or solution with with a specific user in mind, not a generic person covering everything. So we had 3 or 4 that fell out for the travel process. And this one was, I've given you Anna the professor. When you build these, generally you'll try and capture the background and what their goals are. So the goals are really important, as are the needs, because that's helping to reflect back to your community those user stories to help them understand that you've understood what they're seeking. You can capture motivations, pain points. We always then try to personalise them so that it's like you've got a person there in the room who you're testing your ideas with as you go further into your experimentation. We like to give them a little photo so that, you know, we stick them up on the wall and they're there in our meetings and we can almost go, oh, I wonder what Anna would think about this. Would this work for Anna? Is this flexible enough for Anna? It's also nice to try and give them like a little quote or something to really start to personalise them, and then they do become almost a member of the project team. Maybe we're a bit odd like that, but it does help us
to get to know them.
You do get to know them.
And we'll be sharing some templates as we go, so just keep an eye on the chat.
Yeah.
And you can just download the files. I've just popped them in my Google Drive because that's a thing.
Oh gosh. So we then went to building some experience maps, and these were really to test different ways of building out solutions. So we always try and do multiple solutions, lots of iteration, and the whole way through checking what would be the experience of each of those personas in the way that we've designed each of these steps. So this is a really simple template. It just looks at the stages across the top, looks at whether the process is a very simple one, if there's multiple decisions or if there's some sort of approval, and then you have the little emojis down the bottom. We did not use the skull and crossbones emoji, which I think we need to introduce into our experience mapping, and potentially the swearing one. I think that's really cool. Now, we call these journey maps, which is sort of cute because it's travel, but we also started referring to them as odysseys. There were these massive diagrams that were they were too big to print. We had things stuck all along the walls and corridors, which is also good because people could see what we were working on. We landed on the best fit being Odyssey number 5, being us. We then went Odyssey number 5, Mambo number 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mambo number 5. Yeah, I'm glad they're recording this.
Gosh, we can't karaoke, so that's as close as we'll get. So Mambo number 5 then became almost the soundtrack for us for the rest of this project. We were a bit far gone by this point.
Yeah.
But it was really a nice thing to draw people together as well, because we talked about Odyssey number 5, Mambo number 5. People could see that we tested, we iterated, we hadn't just gone with that first solution that we come up with. But I think sometimes we overlook the power of really simple diagrams like this and the use of music in trying to bring people together and connect together. I think I might stop sharing the screen at this point.
Yeah, let's just make this a regular conversation.
And we might just talk.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pause there. Do we have any questions in the chat so far? Does anybody want to ask a question before we go a little bit further? We're going to move now into prototyping and testing, which were the next.
I'll just pause right here. We can't access that file. I'll figure out a way to share it and then we'll share it. So we might attach it to the PD into the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, we can do that.
We'll just make our lives easier. Yep. So we'll share it. We're going to share a persona template and an example of a persona that we used and what we used to do Moscow. So there's 3 takeaways for you.
Okay.
And there is a question from Aaron about what tool did we use to generate that beautiful journey map?
This one here, we built this one actually just in Visio. There are tools on the market that you can use. We did use one called Smapply for a while, which is a license-based one. There's lots of templates if you Google. We've found this to be a really easy one. You can build it either in Excel or Visio or even in PowerPoint probably if you wanted to do that. It's essentially looking at what are the components that are important for you. We liked sort of doing it in Visio because it's easier to move things around and drop stuff around, but it depends on what you have a preference for. That's what we're using. But if anyone else is using experience mapping software or tools, we would love to know what you're using. So please pop it in the chat.
Yeah, that's a good opportunity. Share it in chat.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll move on to prototyping.
And Melissa, I'm just letting you know, we're exactly on time.
Oh, flights on time.
On time, no, on time, some glitches.
Oh, Kevin suggested Lucid Chart, Lucid Spark,
Miro.
Miro. Yeah.
That should be their line. Miro is my go-to.
That's really good, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's got a nice meter.
You could sing that too.
Miro is my go-to.
Go-to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's carry on.
Okay, prototyping. What we did next, we went, right, we've got a solution. We've got Mambo number 5. We've got Odyssey number 5. We need to turn it into something real. We need to bring it to life. So we initially started with lots of different iterations with Post-it notes and whiteboards and what would the process be and what would it look like. And because it's such a long end-to-end process, it became quite overwhelming for us to think about it in that holistic way. So we hadn't ever really done live prototyping before as a group. So we tried something totally different. We are a Microsoft university, and one of the tools within O365 is called Power Automate. Probably some people have used that before. We decided to use Power Automate, which essentially can build forms, automation, workflows within our O365 environment. We decided to use that to actually create a real-life approval mechanism for travel. We kept iterating it. We got one of the specialists in the Faculty of Science and Technology, that was sort of his thing, to build up the skill set so that we could keep playing with it, we could keep testing it, we could keep going back to our personas and saying, does all these steps work? Does it make sense? Does the form branch in the right way? What was really cool was we could actually use the prototype to knock out some of the existing steps in the process, some of the really boring things that we were doing, like if a traveller didn't have a credit card, they had to apply for a per diem on an Excel spreadsheet, which they had to email to finance. Finance would then check it. Finance would then send it off to the offshore team, who would compile all the individual requests into one spreadsheet. And once a fortnight, they would send it to the payroll department, who would then enter it all in and pay people.
Let's just pause there and give me a waving reaction or a thumbs up reaction if you also stopped listening.
Precisely. I don't want to follow the process.
I'll lead by example.
Yeah. So just by using the prototype, we could knock out all of that. So the prototype we used for two things: the Power Automate prototype, to demonstrate that we could automate a form and a workflow that would get rid of all this ridiculous waste, all the double handling, all the duplication, all the bits of paper that were flying all around the place, and actually make it quicker and improve reporting. The second reason we did it was really to gain trust with our user group, that there was a way to do this, that yes, for too long we have been doing everything on paper, but we could actually put something in place, design something that was going to meet all of the musts and quite a few of those shoulds, and maybe even some of those coulds, which is pretty good, I think.
Also sounds like a Dr. Seuss novel.
Oh,
we found a way to do all the musts and some of the shoulds and all of the coulds, which is really good.
And because we're working at scale, it was important that we had trust across all of the user group, because as you know, if you get a little pocket of dissent, it will grow. So we needed to make sure everyone was coming on with us. So because this was a live prototype, we could then test it, which is pretty cool. So we put over 300 travel transactions through our prototype. We had two wonderful faculties who agreed to put their stuff through the prototype while at the same time duplicating and using the existing process.
Oh, normally people would hate you for something like that.
The process was so bad that they were actually willing to duplicate the effort because I really wanted something to actually be fixed. So testing it like that, testing it live, which I know I always say to my systems team, never, ever, ever test in production. But this was okay because it was still, prototype. it gave us more improvement. So it showed where we could tweak the workflows, where we could put more of the automation in, where we could skip some of the steps that we thought were important, but we could actually smush them all together. So that was really, really good. There were some challenges. And this is the moment where I'm going to lift the curtain and say it wasn't all wonderful. I have to talk really quickly now. Yeah. Okay. For a little bit quickly. Okay. Yeah. We'd never prototyped like this before, and we'd never tested like this before. And when we started talking about testing, people started to think that this was the solution that we were going to do.
Yeah, like testing before deployment.
Yeah.
Testing before go live.
So there was this big thing, oh, you're just going to like have this unsupported power automate flow thing and it's not going to work and it's going to break. So we had to flip the language around to be about experimentation, play, iteration. So that was a real learning for us.
It was a massive takeaway. Language matters.
Yeah.
And we might understand prototype, but our clients didn't. They felt let down by us when we had to say, well, thank you for playing.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go find a solution. And so I might talk a little bit about the solution that we came to, which was, well, also not just the solution, but some of the outputs. So a key output was the travel design report, which had recommendations. So we pulled together all of the evidence. So everyone could see it in the one place, and we always had a report to refer back to show this is what you told us, and these are the ways that you told us. So if ever there was any resistance, we could say, you told us. And they'd say, oh yeah, we did, sorry. And we'd say, no probs. Exactly how it happened. That was one major output. Another major output was that we identified an existing online booking tool that our existing travel provider had tucked away in their back pocket, a little add-on that matched the desired experience that we wanted to create. So those requirements that we gathered and prioritized and the experience that we wanted people to have, they already have a tool that did it. And it cost us $2,500. So the cost of one trip effectively. And for those of you who are wondering what that translates to in, I don't know, pence or the US dollar, it's about 70 cents. Okay, it's a very small amount.
It's not a very huge amount, but for that $2,500, we could take the customization, or we could customize it to pretty much map what we had prototyped in our Power Automate tool.
Yeah, and because of that, as Melissa said, we were able to work just beyond must into shoulds and coulds. So the budget travel airlines, which, you know, we wanted people to, the reason we didn't want people to use budget airlines is because their refund policies aren't robust. If you miss your flight or COVID or whatever, you can't get that money back. So we valued refunds over budget airlines. We found a way to integrate budget airlines into the process with an acknowledgement that sometimes if you're doing a last minute trip, you're not going to get it refunded. So what did it deliver? Massive uplift in user experience. Many shoulds or coulds were included. We've got a process that's designed around our people. If we want to talk in numbers, we were moving from a booking and approval process taking over a week to now being done in less than 24 hours. And over 30 steps in a process to fewer than 10. 17 paper forms down to 2 that are the most essential, or like they're sort of outside the travel process, but they've been digitized. We reduce waste, the visibility, the compliance. We've got improved compliance because people are actually booking through the university system rather than the $4 million of unapproved travel bookings that we had before that. And we're reducing our risk because we've got visibility of travel in all the same places now. So there's a couple of other things. We had a community of practice that goes with it, but the main part is the user experience. So that's a little story about travel. We will come back to you with the tools. We've got 2 to 3 minutes for questions. So perhaps for ease of time, rather than typing, if you have any questions, just stick your hand up or stick your mic on, whatever you like. Wow, I have no questions. We've solved all of their problems.
Hey,
Go for Dan.
Dan from Melbourne here. Thanks so much. That was a very, very engaging session, and I've taken so much away from it. I know you this is probably the next bit that you haven't spoken about, but what sort of preparation or challenges did you face in helping people adopt to this change? I'm imagining it was good news and everyone was generally like, thank you very much. But maybe could you spend a few seconds on just that, adopting?
It was trying to respond to things we couldn't control. Like, I think lots of people found themselves in the position of we did great comms, great launch, great training, and then travel was cancelled again. COVID, round 2 of COVID. And so we came back and did travel and comms and consultation, and travel got cancelled. So that was one thing that we couldn't control. And that was difficult to deal with because by then we were in handover process back to the business. So we actually continued out our handover period to support them for another maybe 2 months with that additional comms and training. I think the other thing would be those little pockets that you can never quite reach of some researcher who's doing something very, very unique who doesn't fit within the standardised processes, and trying to provide enough flexibility within what we're doing for those people to be accounted for. And that was almost captured in that additional two-month handover period where we said, okay, we can flex the system this way to account for the guy who goes and collects water from Central Australia where they don't accept FPOS, they don't have accommodation that's bookable via the internet because they don't have the internet. So accounting for those really unpredictable or unforeseen requirements, and how we did it was just being flexible enough with our time to say we'll take on a new requirement. Yeah. Cool. Do you have plans to test the travel again? Kevin, great question.
We are very hopeful that we'll be able to test the international travel component of this process in October 2023 to travel to San Diego, which is where the next conference is.
And we hope to see you all in person there. Kevin has kindly offered to host everyone at his house, so you don't need to book accommodation. So in your own travel booking processes, that's one part that you don't have to have the skull and crossbones on, because Kevin's there with welcoming arms. Yes, she's got a switchboard. Thank you very much for having us. If you have any questions, just drop us a line or add us on LinkedIn. We really hope we do see you next year. Anything else to add?
Thank you.
I've got something to add.
Let's let Anita talk.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, Elizabeth.
Hi,
Yeah.
hello. Sorry, I'm not putting my camera on because I'm not in the best place. But I just wanted to say thank you, because one thing you guys added as well was a real Australian flavour. I feel as though I've sort of been watching a bit of a podcast here, and it's been really refreshing and enjoyable. So thank you.
Anytime.
That was really good.
Anytime. You're welcome to our terrible jokes.
No, and can I just ask a question with the travel? So do you guys use a travel portal? And if so, which one are you using?
Yeah, so our travel provider is ATPI, and we're using the Locomote portal, which I think University of Melbourne is also using.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can share everything. We can share everything with anyone. Yeah,
okay.
All the time.
Beautiful, because they're big achievements with the amount of reduction that you did with the processing and everything. So that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Sometimes
Yeah.
we forget.
High five. Good job.
Thanks, Elizabeth. That's really nice feedback. And segues nicely into what I'd like to say as well now, which is thank you very much to Grace and Melissa. A very engaging session. So I really appreciate your time and effort in bringing that all together. Thanks also to everyone who attended today. This brings us to the end of this session, and we hope to see you at other conference sessions. Bye for now.
Thanks, legends.
Bye. Thanks, Anita.
Good
Thanks,
night or good
everyone.
morning.